month one, in actual terms of money going into the bank, is 5,000. Money going out is 6,450. He's run out of money at the end of month one, and he's closed. He's got a very profitable idea. He's going to make profits every month. He's going to have £18,500 profit every 6 months. No, he's not, because he's not going to last a month. He's run out of money. In month two, it's even worse, because although he's had sales of 5,000, he's only getting paid for the previous month. And because he's had sales of 5,000, these have gone up as well, the materials. He's now got a negative £2,500 in the bank. And it's only then that it begins to come down, and it's only in month 5 that he's actually got a positive bank balance. So he would have to go to the bank at the end of month 1 and say, can you give me an overdraft of 1,500 to see me through? They might be lucky, they might say yes. But if they do say yes, he's going to have to go pleading again in month 2 and say, can you increase that to 2,500? And they would probably say, no, no chance, pal. But if he goes to them before he starts, and he shows them that, and he says, I've got a profitable business, it's going to make 18,500, but I need an overdraft facility of up to 2,500 for 4 months, and then I'll have it cleared. Much better chance. Actually, he wouldn't, because business advisors would say to him, you're not living in the real world, pal. The real business world doesn't operate as simply as that. Customers who account for 50% of your business, given 30 days to pay, will actually take 90 days to pay. Can any of you put your hands up and say you pay every single bill on time? Come on, anybody there? We delay things, don't we? We keep it in our bank as long as we can. Well, maybe not as long as we can. But in business, that's what happens. Businesses don't pay you unless you go around with a sledgehammer. No, that's not true. Unless you come to Business Gateway's Credit Control Workshop and find out how to do it properly. But a lot of customers are not going to pay you in time. So you've got to take that into account. 50% given 30 days will actually take 90 days. That's a proven fact. Also, suppliers are not going to give new businesses credit. They don't know you. Even if they know you personally, even if it's a relative, they probably won't give you credit because they don't know you as a tradesperson. So you're not going to get credit immediately when you start a business. So one, we're telling them the money coming in is not going to be as fast as you expect it, and 2, you're not going to get credit from your supplier. Apart from that, we accept all your figures, we accept you're going to make £18,500 profit, but in terms of cash flow, we have to revamp these figures a wee bit. And that's what we would do. In month 1, the only money coming in is his own £5,000. He's not going to get credit from his supplier, so the money going out is 6,950. He'll have a negative 1,950, which will become the opening balance there. In month 2, he's not even going to get all the sales money from month 1, because half of them aren't going to pay him till there. So he's only got 1,000 coming in, and because he's busier, he's selling more, these costs are going up, these variable costs are going up. Nearly £2,000 overdrawn, almost £5,000 overdrawn, £6,500 overdrawn, £9,000 overdrawn. Only then does it start coming down. And it will probably be a positive balance round about month 8 or 9. But it means in those 9 months he's overdrawn. The bank are going to close him down unless he organises something. He thought he didn't need any money. Based on his assumptions, he needs an extra £1,500. Based on reality, he needs an extra £9,000. And if he went to the bank before he started and said, I've got £5,000, here's my business plan, here's my forecasts, if that business plan was well researched and the forecasts were reasonable, the bank would probably lend him £9,000. Because they can see he understands cash flow, and also they can see the light at the day. If we do go on beyond 6 months, he'll have that overdraft paid off within 9 months. And the banks, of course, are getting interest on it, so they're making money. He thought he didn't need any money. Based on his assumptions, he needed an extra 2,500. Based on reality, he needs an extra 9,000. That's why a lot of businesses fail, because they don't do their cash flow forecasting and they run out of money. So don't let these figures frighten you. They're not there to frighten you. They're there to let you see reality. In most businesses, you need extra money in the early days because people don't pay you on time, or your prices aren't high enough, and you have a lot of costs. If you can work out that you need more money, and you go to the bank or you go to funding organisations, you show why you need it, you show you've got your head screwed on, you have a good chance of getting it. But go to them with pie-in-the-sky ideas, and they'll not have much faith in you. So as I say, that's not there to frighten you, it's there to let you understand cash flow is totally different from profit and loss. In terms of starting up and the funding package you need, you've got the startup costs, the one-off costs to get everything in place and be ready to go. Then you've got regular running costs. The funding package that you need to get a business up and running is the startup costs plus. Working capital just means the extra money you need to get you through the early days so you don't run out of money. And cash flow forecasting will identify that. Business advisors will help you with your cash flow forecasts, and that will identify how much money you need. Sometimes you'll hear it from the other point of view. The funding package from a funder's point of view is how much money do you need, which is exactly the same as you're calculating, but they're looking at it to say, how are you putting that money together? How are you raising all of that money? How much are you putting in? What grants are you getting? What loans are you getting? How much is your grandmother giving you? Or anybody else who's involved? To make sure you're raising all the money you need. Because if you don't raise all the money you need, you're going to run out of money. And if you run out of money, you're going to close. And anybody who lends you money are not going to get repaid. So the funding package from your point of view is how much you need. The funding package from a lender's point of view is how are you making that money up. It's exactly the same amount of money, but it's two different angles they're looking at. Just one very quick slide on value-added tax. VAT is a tax on sales. It's not a tax on profits. It's a tax on your sales. And it's basically, you must register for VAT if you reach a certain threshold. That threshold is currently £81,000. If your annual sales are £81,000 or more, then you must register for VAT. There are one or two exemptions and exceptions, but generally you must register. And if you are registered, you must charge your customers 20% VAT, and you pay that to the government. You're basically an unpaid tax collector. You can also reclaim the VAT that you're paying when you buy things if you're registered, and you pay the tax authorities the difference between what you've collected and what you can pay. We run a webinar on VAT in here. A webinar basically is we deal with people in Blackpool or Manchester or Liverpool online, and there's two-way communication, and they do a presentation on VAT, and you get the chance to ask them questions. So if you're thinking you might need to think about value-added tax, worth coming to that one. Very last slide here is just the one I mentioned at the beginning. We run a 3-hour workshop on funding your business based on that slide. And it's not just a case of if you need money, go to the bank. A lot of businesses, their first thought is let's get a bank loan. There are often more efficient ways to go about it. Loans or overdrafts, possibilities. Credit from your suppliers. You probably won't get that on day one, but the sooner you can negotiate with the supplier, it may not reduce how much your suppliers are costing, it will delay the timing and keep the money in your bank a bit longer. Debt factoring is where you give credit to your customers. and you don't get paid until they pay you. Factoring organisations will actually take that debt on board, and they will give you up to 65–70% of the value of that invoice. They'll give you the money straight away, and when the customer pays the bill, they'll give you the balance. Except they won't, they'll keep some for themselves. So generally, they'll keep 5% of it for themselves. But they will also be charging you interest on the 65% that they have lent you, because it is a loan. So it can be expensive, debt factoring. But if you can factor that into your own costs, the fact that you're going to have to pay for factoring, and you can get away with charging higher prices, then it can be a very effective way. It was very, very well used in the 1980s. Prior to that, debt factoring was generally a sign that businesses were struggling. They were running out of money, they were factoring their debts so they could get money in quickly. But in the 1980s, because of the computer boom, because of the boom in the IT world, businesses were needing a lot of finance quickly to be able to produce new products and services, and debt factoring became a fairly common method. So it no longer has that stigma to it. But just be careful, debt factoring can mean that you're paying a lot of money out. Leasing, contract hire, you're not actually buying, you're renting things. Hire purchase, you're buying over a period of time. So you don't have to find, in those three cases, you don't have to find a lump sum to buy things or to get them to pay over a period of time. Business angels, venture capitalists. Business angels are the Dragon's Den type people. Venture capitalists are businesses who invest in other businesses. To get access to that kind of funding, you normally need to form a limited company, because these people are buying shares in your company with the intention of you buying them back from them for a heck of a lot more than they paid for them in the first place. So they're looking at investing in new businesses, the business is growing rapidly, and then you buy the shares back from them and they make a big capital profit. Family and friends. Anybody got any family and friends with lots of money they're going to throw at you? Probably not. But some people are lucky enough to have family who will invest in their business. It can be a very dangerous thing, because if you're paying them interest on a loan, or if you're paying them profits, a share of the profits, that is income to these people. And if they're not declaring it to tax authorities, then there's tax fraud going on. And I've actually seen a family where the father was put in jail because he gave money to his son to start a business. His son gave him a share of the profits and he didn't declare it for tax purposes. And he was jailed for it. You can also have disputes between siblings when parents die, if that sort of thing happens. Parents die and your sister says to you, we gave you £500 to start your business, I want 500 out of the estate before you get another penny. And it can cause all sorts of problems. So if you're lucky enough to have family that throw money at you, be very careful, get it in writing exactly what it is, and make them aware that if they're getting anything out of it, they've got to declare it for tax purposes. Crowdfunding, a more recent invention where online you can pitch your business, people can invest in your business, or they can make advance orders so that you've got an order list there. Commercial mortgages, very similar to domestic mortgages, and government initiatives is public sector grants or loans. As I say, we run a 3-hour workshop on that one, but we've got 3 hours left, we've got 3 minutes, which just gives me time to ask you, are there any questions? No? Is anybody still alive? Oh, here we are. Yes? Just before we do that, could I ask you to complete the feedback form that's there as well? I'll get it from you. What were you going to say?
Oh yeah, I'm currently renting a studio at the moment in Dublin. But what's happened is we've been an agreement between me and Mum where basically I paid her about just about over I think just about half the price she pays, and I'm just wondering, I'm not kind of sure about the circumstances of it, but it's just like maybe
You mean she's paying some of the rent, is that what you mean?